Hi guys, welcome to myself and Jessica's chat today. Jessica, how are you?
Oh, I'm fabulous. Thank you.
We are on opposite sides of the world. I'm in Ireland and Jessica is in America. And we wanted to be able to come on here today and talk about what it's like being a messy business mom, because we're both business women, we're both moms, and what we have both found is that when you're starting your business and you're in the process of building your business, it's messy a lot of the time. And you have these moments where you're like, oh, can I really do this? Is this going to work? And myself and Jessica were literally just talking about it before we hit that record button as to where we're both at. And I think there's value in sharing this and to show you that it isn't always plain sailing. It isn't always easy. And all those beautiful things you see on Instagram or even the beautiful decor behind myself and Jessica is not the be on and end all of what it looks like. So Jessica, before we start, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yes. So, Jessica Peterson, I am a mom of four, been married for 17 years. So we have 13 all the way down to 3. And I used to work in a office manager position doing things like that. And I was also a stay-at-home mom for a long time. And I realized I had a passion in helping moms create their passion to profit, because we all have some type of yearning on our heart, and we get to step into that calling because I feel like it's a calling. And when we own it, we're actually sharing that light with others. And that's what makes the world go round, is when we start stepping into that calling, stepping into that creation of your life instead of the conveyor belt of what everybody else says to do. Then you get the most optimized life. As I am creating that, I'm seeing that, and I'm also very much in the messy middle. There's no lie that chaos is full on around. It's just how I get to manage it. Yep.
100%. And I'm Joanne, and I am a success coach for mums who are in the corporate world and want to transition out to have their own business. Because trust me, when you are actually living in your passion and you're fulfilling whatever your true purpose is, your life is so much easier, and your purpose is way more than what you think it is. It is literally about how you live your life and how you get to show up every day. And part of the whole messiness is we do things backwards, right? We try to build our business or our career before we set up our life. And as a mom, I'm sorry, that does not work. I may have a grown-up daughter who's 21, but let me tell you, life still gets lifey. The mess still happens. And I still have to be able to continue on and build my business. So between myself and Jessica, we may do different things and the same things, but look, ultimately, we're moms, first and foremost. We're women, we're business people, and our lives are messy.
Yeah. Well, it's because we live in, society teaches us that as women, we have to be really masculine, like grind, hardcore, go for it, sacrifice it all. You get to the top, and then what do you have left? You probably don't have very good relationships. How's your faith? How's your health along the way? And as I have been building my life and my business, because I help build my husband's and I also build mine, there's no such thing as balance, for one. If you don't prioritize where you want to time block your things, life becomes unbearable and you give up because you don't see immediate results, or because you're like, oh, the mom guilt comes up and you want to go, oh, I'm not being a good mom because I'm doing this. And then when you are working, you're like, how come I'm not getting further along, and blah, blah, blah. And you spin into this cycle of self-doubt, and you end up wondering if you really should do this. So you get to figure out, as well as with lots of mentorship, how you want your life to look. And guess what? It's going to be different than what you thought.
Ain't that the truth? I don't think any of mine has ever looked how I thought it was going to be. And oftentimes when we think about like our vision or what we want to create, we have this like very perfect ideal image in our mind, and it never looks like that in the end, ever. And the one person I always use as I think from what she originally wanted to create to where she is now is a perfect example of how things get to be messy along the way. And it's Tabitha Brown. So she's a vegan blogger. Whether you're into veganism or not, it's irrelevant, right? Her story is so lovely. She always wanted to be an actress, and that was her whole dream. And, you know, she did everything she could to be an actress, and it just never really came to be about. And she ended up becoming vegan from health issues. She was having health issues, and she found that when she became vegan, her health improved an awful lot. So she started sharing it on social media. And it went from her sharing her story to completely blowing up. If nobody knows who she is, you should really have a look at her, because she's good fun. She's really, really good fun. And she has her own catchphrases, and she's fun to watch and to interact with. But she is now an actress, just not in what the traditional sense looked like. And if she hadn't have been messy about that along the way and been curious about it and just let it flow and have not given up, she never gave up, she wouldn't have created the beautiful life she has now. If you asked her, is this what it would have looked like, you know, when she first decided she wanted to be an actress all those years ago, the answer would be, of course not, of course not. But now she'll say, this is so much better.
Right. No, this is so true, because I actually went to school for musical performance. It's funny that you bring that up, because I was like, oh, I'm going to be performing and singing. I love theater, was my thing. And then my husband's like, yeah, I'm going to be a doctor. I'm like, okay, yeah, we can make this. And then I quickly realized that the way to get there, and some of the things I also wanted to be a mom, and I got to pivot and redirect, because at that time, my belief system was like, I don't know how I can make this work. He's becoming a doctor. We're starting a family. This lifestyle is not fitting the picture. So as the years have gone by and I started going into coaching, I'm like, this is actually the best of both worlds. Coaching, I know you might sound crazy, but it's just like being on stage. You get the same fulfillment because you're affecting people. And that's what theater is. You're helping change emotions. Are they happy? Are they sad? Or things like this. So coaching is very similar. You're helping people manage their emotions for a purpose. The theater, you might not have the purposes to make them happy or the cry or something, but so I got to pivot in a totally different direction that I didn't think 17 years ago would be anything like now, but I love it. So same thing, we get to be unattached to how it's going to look. And to be honest, that's hard still for me, because I still want things to look like this, like, oh, I did this and it should work, right? Yeah, in theory, on paper, but sometimes it doesn't.
Well, you and I were already talking about this before we hit the record button. So life goes like this, right? Oh, just creating your business, okay? It 100% goes like this. And we were only talking beforehand about, well, what does self-sabotage look like for us? And if I'm going to share mine, right? Because mine, you're going to go, this is crazy. It's life, right? This is what happens. When I go on an upward trajectory, right? And I set a goal that's way beyond my comfort zone and I hit it, instead of going, yay, which I do for a moment, and then it's like, oh crap. And then I start going down again. And everything that I know stops working. So like, you know, I don't create any more ideas. I start questioning everything that I'm doing. I go into this massive like cycle of like my inner critic going, knocking on my head going, you don't know what you're doing. You're crap at this. You don't know what you do. You're crap at this. And it's like really loud. It's like super, super loud. But that's my passion, is that when I get to here and I start creating what I want, I drop. And then I go into the self-sabotage. And a lot of people do that. But when they get into that moment, they keep going down. So it's like, here's the bucket. So instead of somebody holding the bucket for you, you're getting into the bucket and you're inviting people to get into the bucket with you. Instead of going, do you know what? I'm having a moment. Let me have my little pity party here. And then I'll be grand and I'll pull myself out of it. And we don't always do that. So that's where it gets like really messy, right?
No, this is so true, because as we were saying before, I just did this last week, like not this last week, 3 days ago, had this awesome win in business. And then I was like, oh my gosh, can I make this happen? Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, yes. And you start talking in your head. But like you said, Joanna, we get to pretty much coach ourselves out of it, snap, shift. And one of the things I'll tell you, hopefully this is helpful, when you have those self-sabotage, what I did was, come on, Jessica, can you really do this? And then I created a list of and wrote it out. Can I make this happen? And I wrote 10 reasons why I can make it happen. And then it shifted. Absolutely. Okay, Jessica, get out of your pity party and go and do it. Like, because the longer you sit in self sabotage, the worse it gets. Because, and I knew that because if I'm sending out that negative energy, then it's going to repel all the positive that I'm working towards in building my business. My husband and I, we think of it like a thermostat. If I'm always at, just like our body, 98.6, when I get up to, say I'm wanting to get to 104 in my business, when I get there, I'm like, yes, this is uncomfortable, back to 98.6, just like you were saying. But we have to get used to 104. Then we have to get used to 108 and those things, because we get back to our comfort zone because of patterns we've created. So the pattern I do is, okay, can I make this happen? Write it out, and always know that if you think you can't make it happen, you can. You'll figure it out. That's the beauty. You will figure it out. And that was one thing that after I did that list, and I said, well, even if I don't know 100%, knowing me, I would figure it out. I would never just say, I don't know. No, I would figure it out and not only give 100%, but 130. I know you're the same way. I know you are.
Yeah, for sure. It's about being resourceful. And what I've learned through this mess is because my pattern is always the same. So I'll go up and then I'll drop. And I'm going to talk about something that a lot of people don't want to hear. My feminine cycle, as in my period flow, is literally when my sabotage cycle goes. So because I've recognized that and I own it and I know that, I can step into it. So I've been able to create different things that will go with my flow when I'm in that mood, so that I don't self-sabotage. So like that, when I had my trajectory up like that to the 104, my instinct was to drop right back to the 98.6. But what I've done is I've created like little books that I have that, like, where I'll jot down my ideas of what I want to create, or I'll go into a passion of writing self-love letters. We do not do this as women. We do not tell ourselves how amazing we are. And I'm not talking about the things that we do. I'm talking about how we are. So like all those times that you were resilient, all those times that, you had a bad moment, you allowed yourself to feel the emotions, and then you picked yourself up. Not you were devoid of the emotions, not you ignored them, not you pushed on anyway, but you felt them, you worked through them, and then you kept going. So there's lots of little things that you can do to help you wheel through the mess. But the moral of this is, it is messy. It's not.
Yes. And we get to stop making decisions from who we are right now. You make decisions based on who you are going to be in a year in business, because anybody that says being in business, yeah, you'll find a comfortable spot, no, that means they're not growing. It is intentionally uncomfortable because I'm constantly growing. Like, ooh, I got to the next level. So recently I've been making decisions in my business like, well, right now I don't see how that's possible, but in a year I'm going to surpass that. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to do that because in a year that's what I'm creating. Make sense?
For sure.
Yeah.
Question for you. What's the messiest thing that you have done in your business that at the start you're like, oh my God, I would never share that or tell anyone?
Oh gosh. Okay. Oh no, this actually happened last month. I have a lot of them, but I'm going to tell you one that happened last month and then we can keep trickling down. I was doing a webinar. I woke up so sick that morning that I had an ocular migraine. I almost threw up twice in the webinar. So I would go, excuse me. And you know how you have to swallow it down? I would just go, excuse me. I swallowed it. And then I kept teaching. Do it again. Swallow it. Teach. And then I had my glasses on too, because then I could take them off so I couldn't see everybody that, because I had people on and I'm like, I look terrible. I am going to throw up. And then I couldn't wait. I don't even know all the things I said. I went back and looked it over. It was, let's just say, done beats perfect. I'm glad for those people that showed up. But that was a rough one, but I did it. I'm proud that I did it because I honestly wanted to cancel. I got off the webinar and then went straight to my bed because it was terrible. A couple others that I've done is I forget what I'm saying. That happens in the beginning. Like I would rely so heavily on my notes. I don't even know what I'm saying. Then I start sweating and I lost my place. And I've almost cried. So nobody knows though that I almost cried, but I feel like everybody knows. Let me think of another one. Oh, I've also had where I'm teaching a class and my kids know it. And outside the room, they're all screaming like that's like, they're not in hurt. Don't be worried, but like somebody's touching my toys. And I'm like, and I'm teaching a class on motherhood. That's lovely. That's like, creating beautiful home and being a confident mom, and people are yelling outside your door. Then you start wondering, like, you're having moments like, oh, I'm not doing a very good job because clearly we're a mess here and I'm teaching how to be confident in motherhood. Actually, that's perfect then because it's so relatable. And my son has popped on the screen too. Like, okay, come on in. You know that I have kids because I've told you you've had kids, and they come running in here because they figure out how to open up the door to get into my office area. Yep, I've had all of those happen.
Oh, I love when you share these things because these are always what I call like the bloopers. So like I did a workshop there 2 months ago and my dog screamed every single solitary time I was getting to, those perfect pitch points. And like for those of you that don't know what I mean by that is in like, when you're really getting a moment where, you're bringing your audience right into, some emotional state to get them to understand where they want to go. And my dog would scream, and my dog doesn't bark. He screams. You would swear he was being killed. And all that's happening is the postman is coming to the door. So he did that repeatedly throughout the entire time. It didn't matter. I even changed the timings of when I was going to bring people to this emotional state. Every time. I've also done my workshops on my ironing board, spilt tea all over it, and then showed everybody because it is messy. I've also, when I was doing stuff on my phone, like as in creating stories, dropped it into the food. So people got to experience the spaghetti bolognese, literally full force. If only we had smell-o-vision, it would have been great. But like you as well, from a notes perspective, I have them with me all the time. There is no such thing as perfection because my idea of perfect is not going to be yours. And if you don't show up messy, you're not going to show up at all. And that doesn't mean that you show up like as a, like crazy mess. But when we say messy, as in it's your life. It's how you are like that. You're like, you had days where you were unwell. I've often had days where like I've come on with no makeup on, or I'm going to be really honest, I don't always have the bottom half of my clothing on, like as in I could be in my PJs. I'm in proper clothes today, but I could be in my PJs, but that's life. And I think for a business person, depending on who your audience is, you want to be able to relate to them. We're both moms. We have stuff that needs to be done. Like if my dog throws up on me, he throws up on me. If Leah's had a rough night, even though she's older, I'm still going to want to be there for her. So I've got to make do what works for me, whatever the mess may be. You're the same.
Oh, this is so true. Like when before I had this office setting, so nice. No, I had my computer set on my bed. And I made whatever looked around me, because that's the thing. We live in this square box and we think that everything is perfect, and it's not. I honestly I would hold all of my notes on my lap, and because nobody can see it, because I didn't even have a desk, nothing. I just did that, and I would hold everything up and read it that way. no desk, nothing. Then from there, I pivoted to a shelf. Like I would pull up the shelf and
Woohoo!
use that exactly, and upgraded to desk, la la la, then wall decor, all the things. But I got caught up, honestly, I'll be completely honest, in the I'm not a good coach because I don't have a pretty background. Huh? That's ridiculous. Like my husband would be like, and do you think they're not going to hire you because you've been using your lap as a desk? No, but they wouldn't hire me because I didn't believe in myself because of the way that I showed up in that way. So you have to know that if those little things are catching you up, that'll affect you in sales, because it did for me. I was so caught up in the pretty niceties of things that had nothing to do with actually my intellectual or content I was bringing. Interesting.
Very true. And it's funny because most of my clients that have signed up to me will comment on one of those messy moments that I've had because they're relatable. Like
Yeah.
that's who we are. No matter what business you're going into, people relate to people. And it's those little moments in time that we've all had where and like as moms, we know this, if you're sitting on the loo and the kids run in, that's a moment in time. You're trying to cut your toenails over the bath and one of the kids pushes you into the bath. Like stuff like this is what happens, or you're walking in or your dog's weed on the floor and you slip. Like this is life, right? This is what happens. But it's those moments that make us relatable. So yeah, being a messy business mom, don't be afraid of it. Don't shy away from it. Embrace it. Honestly, embrace it. It's where the beauty is.
Oh, I've got to tell you this because it's funny. Now they're all coming to me. I dropped my son off to preschool this morning and they go, by chance, do you know what your son put in his lunchbox yesterday? I pack his lunch. And he's 3. And sometimes he'll grab his lunch out and do stuff before we get out the door, but I don't know because I'm helping the other 3 kids get ready. And she's like, I took a picture because it was so funny. He had taken a popsicle, unwrapped it, and put it in his lunchbox. So by the time it was lunchtime, everything in his lunch was soaking wet with popsicle juice and the stick. And I said, no. And she said, I didn't think you knew about that, but I wanted to let you know. Welcome to my life. Yeah. So bless them for cleaning that up, though. I was like, I remember him talking about popsicles yesterday morning, and I said, we're not having a popsicle for breakfast. And to me, I thought, end of story, we're moving on. No, he pulled one out, taken it out of his wrapper, put it in his lunchbox. Son, I don't know what he ate yesterday then, because it was all ruined, but he's alive and well.
Oh, these are the stories that make our life. I love it. Well, Jessica, we will end it there. Thank you for that. I really enjoyed this actually. And I hope for everybody watching, it's been helpful to see it's okay to be messy and that life happens. Like myself and Jessica are both successful in what we do, and being messy has actually helped us, not hinder us. Like perfection will get you nowhere.
You're wonderful.